Close your eyes, let your breathing slow. Let the pillow beneath your head remind you that even the smallest and most ordinary things have histories. Tonight you are not thinking of kings or wars or battles. Tonight you are thinking only of pillows. Your head sinks into the fabric. You feel the weight of it beneath you. The pillow waits, as it always does. You notice its shape, the way it yields to you, the way it accepts your breath and grows warmer beneath your cheek. And while you rest, you can drift further back in time, to when pillows were not what you know now. In the earliest days, in the lands of Mesopotamia, you would have lowered your head onto carved stone, heavy, solid, unyielding. There was no softness. There was no give, your neck lifted from the ground, balanced on a hard block of stone. Not meant for ease but meant for protection. Protection from crawling things that moved across the earth at night. The pillow was not comfort, it was defense. You can imagine it now. You close your eyes, your head set against cool stone. The surface smooth from many uses. The firmness unchanging no matter how you pressed against it. There was no sigh, no rustle, no yielding shape, only silence, and yet still you rested. The night stretched on, and the pillow waited. In Egypt, too, you would have known such things. Not stone this time but wood, curved and polished, sometimes carved with symbols, sometimes painted, and yet still hard beneath your head. You balanced yourself on it, careful not to slip away in your sleep. It was meant not to soften you but to lift you, to hold you above the ground, to preserve the style of your hair, to keep your face angled to the breeze. You imagine that weightless stillness now, your neck raised, your body stretched long, the wooden rest firm and unchanging. You shift in your own bed, and you notice the difference between that ancient hardness and the softness beneath you now. The pillow you know gives slightly. It remembers your head, but theirs never did. It was always unyielding, always the same, night after night. And yet, even then, sleep came, because it must. The body gives in, no matter the surface, and so the wooden headrest, like the stone one before it, played its part. A silent object, patient, enduring, ordinary, always waiting in the dark. Later, in Rome, the pillow changed again. If you were wealthy you rested on feathers, goose down gathered and stuffed into sacks. When you pressed against them they yielded at once. They gave way under your head, shaping themselves to you. If you were poor the sack was filled with straw, uneven, scratchy, sometimes sharp, carrying the smell of fields and dust. When you breathed, you inhaled the faint earthiness of it, the reminder that your bed was only a piece of the harvest, borrowed for your rest. The sound of straw shifting as you moved would have filled the room. Faint, almost unnoticed, but always there, and still you pressed your head down, because the body asked for rest. The empire faded, but the idea of the pillow did not vanish. It lingered. It slipped into the homes of those who came after, across Europe, through centuries of change. The pillow remained, not always soft, not always feathered, but always something to lift the head, always something to wait through the night. And now you move further still, into the medieval world, where you would have known the pillow again, but in different forms. If you lived as a peasant, your pillow would be no more than a small sack, rough fabric stitched together, stuffed with straw, sometimes wool, sometimes rags, whatever could be spared. You picture yourself lowering your head onto such a sack, uneven, coarse, scratching faintly against your skin. When you turned, the straw shifted, the pillow changed shape beneath you. Sometimes it pressed too hard, sometimes it sagged too low, sometimes it smelled of damp breath from many nights before, and yet you pressed your cheek into it because that was all there was. If the pillow flattened, you would mend it. You would open the seam with tired hands, push more straw inside, tie it shut again. It would be lumpy, it would be awkward, but it would once more be a pillow, once more ready to wait through the night for your head. You imagine the cycle, each season bringing new straw, each winter bringing new dampness, each year demanding repairs and mending. Never permanent, always changing, but always the same in purpose, always the same in its waiting. The noble knew another kind of pillow. You can see it now, in a wide chamber, the fire burning faintly against stone walls, the bed large and high, and at the top, pillows piled one upon another, filled not with straw but with feathers, soft enough to sink into slowly, soft enough to sigh beneath you when you pressed your head. The covers were smoother, woven linen, sometimes silk, cool at first, warming with your breath, embroidered edges, colored thread, sometimes even gold, not only to hold your head but to show wealth. to remind anyone who saw that here there was comfort, here there was nobility. And yet, no matter how rich, no matter how soft, the pillows still flattened, the seams still split, the feathers still escaped. Servants mended them. Servants shook the filling. Servants returned them to the bed, always restored to their duty, always placed beneath the head, always waiting in the silence of the night. And you notice again that whether peasant or noble, whether straw or feathers, the act was the same. At the end of the day the pillow waited, the head pressed down, the breath warmed the fabric, the night stretched long. In monasteries you might not have known a pillow at all. The monks were told pillows were luxury, softness that led to weakness. So you would rest your head on your arm, or on bare wood, or on nothing at all. You would feel the pressure, the hardness, the ache in your neck as you tried to find stillness. But still the body gave in, still the eyes closed, still sleep came. Later some monasteries permitted small pillows. Plain sacks filled with wool, never silk, never feathers, always humble. Not to indulge but only to allow the body its rest. And so you drift across all these places. Peasants with coarse sacks, nobles with embroidered feathers, monks with nothing at all. And in each of them the night came, and the body gave way, and the pillow, whether present or absent, shaped the rhythm of rest. Now return to your own pillow, the one beneath your cheek tonight. Feel its weight, its softness, its patience. Think of the countless nights it has already waited for you. Think of the way it will wait again tomorrow. The story of the pillow is long, but always the same, always humble, always ordinary, always beneath you. And as you lie there, your head sinking deeper, your breath slower, you are only continuing the story they all knew before you. The story of the pillow, waiting through the night, waiting through the centuries, always there, always still, always the same. You rest where you are, the pillow beneath your cheek warmer now than when you first placed your head upon it. And you imagine yourself moving further into the story, past the straw sacks of peasants and the embroidered cushions of nobles, into a world where the pillow was not only for sleep but for status, a quiet measure of who you were in the order of things. In China, long before the feather sacks of Rome or the straw bags of medieval Europe, pillows were shaped from porcelain, from jade, from wood, from bamboo. They were solid, unbending, never soft. You imagine lowering your head onto glazed porcelain, cool against your skin, holding its chill even in summer heat. When you turned your cheek there was no give, no sinking, only the steady surface beneath you. The pillow was heavy, it did not shift, it did not sigh beneath you. It was believed that such pillows improved health, that the hardness strengthened the body, that jade beneath your skull might draw away illness, that porcelain might keep you cool in the heat of night. You picture yourself breathing against it, your head still and unmoving, the surface never warming, never changing. The pillow enduring even as you drifted slowly into sleep. And sometimes these pillows were decorated, painted with delicate patterns, with birds, with flowers, with poems, not for you to see in the dark but for the reminder, when you woke, that beauty and rest could lie side by side. And so the pillow became more than a tool. It was art. A quiet object that declared its owner's refinement without ever speaking. You think of your own pillow now, fabric plain, surface soft, and you wonder at the strangeness of resting on porcelain, or on jade, or on lacquered wood, yet for centuries it was the ordinary way. People placed their heads down and trusted sleep to find them, whether the pillow yielded or not. In Japan the pillow also took strange shapes, sometimes filled with buckwheat hulls, small casings that shifted beneath the head, making a faint dry sound each time you moved, never quite silent, always reminding you of its presence. Sometimes pillows were small wooden stands with curved rests, holding the head up and away from the ground, used especially by geisha and noble women, their purpose not to soothe but to preserve elaborate hairstyles through the night. You imagine yourself lying there, your hair carefully arranged, your neck lifted on a narrow stand. You close your eyes carefully, you turn with care, because the pillow was not there for you, not for your ease, but for your appearance. Still you pressed your cheek to it, still you gave in to sleep, still the pillow waited, silent and patient beneath you. And if your head slipped, if your body moved, the pillow would remind you, sharp, firm, demanding you return to its place. These ancient shapes were not meant to be embraced. They were not meant to invite you. They were boundaries, firm and unyielding, reminding you that rest was not indulgence, that rest was something structured, disciplined, held in place by objects as rigid as the rules around you. Now you turn your head on your own pillow and feel it yield beneath you. So different from porcelain, from jade, from buckwheat hulls. So different from all those surfaces where countless others closed their eyes. You drift onward in time, and now you enter the age when pillows spread across Europe more widely. Once only for the wealthy, pillows became more common, though never equal. In the great houses they were numerous, stacked high, embroidered with coats of arms, stuffed with down. In humbler homes they were few, sometimes one for a whole family, shared between husband, wife, and children, your head pressing into the same worn sack as those you lived beside, the fabric carrying the breath of many mouths, the dampness of many nights, always shared, always close. If you imagine that closeness now, you feel the strangeness of resting against a pillow already warmed by another. But in those days it was ordinary. You pressed your cheek against straw and fabric because there was no other choice, and still, the pillow did its work, silent and enduring. In castles, pillows sometimes became symbols, not only for the bed but for ceremony. Kneeling on cushions before thrones, resting holy objects on embroidered pillows, presenting gifts upon them. The pillow moved from the chamber to the hall, from the private night to the public day, and so the same object that caught your breath as you slept could also hold a crown, or a chalice, or a jewel. You imagine lifting your head from your own pillow and seeing it carried into a hall, placed before a king, made into a stage for wealth and power, and then later, once again, it returned to its silence in the dark, waiting only for a head, waiting only for sleep. And as centuries passed, pillows became softer, became broader, became more common. In the Renaissance, the wealthy prided themselves on the number and beauty of their cushions, arranging them in beds as displays of comfort and status. When you think of lying down then, you think of sinking into layers, into embroidered covers, into feathers piled upon feathers. The pillow no longer only utility, but indulgence, abundance, excess. Yet still, for the many, the pillow was humble, still a sack of straw or wool, sometimes too flat, sometimes too lumpy, sometimes stiff with age. Still shared, still patched, still mended, always ordinary, always waiting in silence. And you notice again that whether jade or porcelain, straw or feathers, embroidered silk or plain sackcloth, the act has never changed. You lie down, you close your eyes, you place your head upon what waits. The pillow receives you, endures you, and carries you through the night. Even now, with your head against the softness beneath you, you feel that same truth. The pillow is not dramatic, not grand, not noticed. It is simple, patient, always beneath you, always waiting, as it was for them, as it is for you, as it will be for others long after. You breathe slower now, the thought of porcelain pillows, of wooden headrests, of straw sacks, of feather piles, all blurring together into the same image. Countless nights, countless heads, countless breaths, all pressing down, all trusting the pillow to do its quiet work. And the story drifts onward still, carrying you with it, carrying you deeper, always back to the same small truth. That in the end, the pillow is always there, always beneath you, always waiting through the night. You remain where you are, the pillow beneath you steady and warm, and the story carries you deeper into its long, slow current. This time not about what the pillow was made of, but how it was used, how it shaped the rhythm of sleep in the medieval world. You imagine yourself in a simple cottage, the floor uneven, the walls rough with timber or stone. The fire burned low, giving only faint light. Your bed is not a bed as you know it, only a low frame of wood, or perhaps just a mattress sack on the floor filled with straw or husks. Beside it, one pillow, flat and heavy, waiting. When you lie down, you do not lie alone. The family gathers close, children, parents, sometimes grandparents, all pressed together beneath blankets of wool or skins, all breathing into the same air, and only one or two pillows shared between them. Your head may rest on the pillow some nights, but not all. On other nights you lean against a rolled cloak, or your arm bent beneath you. And so the pillow is not a possession only yours, but a small comfort passed from one to another, night after night. In these cottages the pillow was not washed often, water was too precious, soap too rare. Instead the covers were shaken out, beaten in the air, left to dry in the sun when weather allowed. You picture the faint smell of smoke from the fire clinging to it, the scent of wool, of straw, of damp from long winters. The fabric rough against your cheek, never smooth, never soft for long, yet familiar, always familiar. And that familiarity became part of sleep itself. The pillow bore marks of use, small stains, uneven patches where the fabric had thinned, seams sewn over again with clumsy stitches. And each night when your head sank against it, you touched those same places, the spots where thread rubbed against your skin, the lumps where stuffing gathered, every mark a memory of nights already past. In noble houses the pillow shaped sleep in other ways. Here the bed was higher, reached by steps, enclosed sometimes by heavy curtains. The chamber cooled by stone walls but warmed by braziers or tapestries. The pillow not shared, not passed from head to head, but set in its place alone for you. It was plumped before you entered, smoothed by servants' hands. Its cover changed more often, its seams tighter, its filling richer. You lowered your head into it and felt yourself sink more deeply. And yet even in these places, where pillows were many and soft, sleep still followed the same slow path. The room darkened, the body yielded, the pillow held the weight of the head, and the long night carried on without hurry. You think of monasteries, too, where sleep was watched carefully, where comfort was questioned. Many monks lived with little, their beds bare, their pillows forbidden or reduced to the simplest cloths. It was thought that softness might tempt the body, might distract the mind from prayer, might bind a man too closely to comfort. So the pillow was removed, or made so plain that it no longer mattered. You imagine lying there, your head resting only on folded cloth, on wood, or on nothing at all. The hard surface beneath you pressing against bone, reminding you of the body's weight, each breath shallow, each turn stiff. Yet the purpose was not comfort but discipline. And even so, sleep came in time, slow and inevitable, pillow or not. In towns and cities, where merchants and craftsmen lived, pillows were something in between, some stuffed with scraps of cloth, with rags saved over years, sewn together into a lumpy mass, others filled with wool or feathers when wealth allowed, and these pillows, though modest, became part of nightly ritual. You picture yourself in a small chamber above a shop, lying close to narrow walls, hearing faint sounds from the street below even in the night. You pull your thin blanket close and press your face into the pillow. You feel its unevenness, one side higher, the other flatter. You shift until you find a spot where your head can rest. You breathe into it, and slowly it warms, until you forget its lumps and sharp corners, and you let yourself sink. And still, whether in peasant cottage, noble chamber, monastery cell, or merchant's room, the pillow always did the same work, quiet, humble, holding the head, and though each pillow differed in shape, in weight, in scent, the act was constant. Night after night, you bent down. You laid your head, your breath spread into the cloth. Your warmth filled it, and the pillow received you. Some believed that pillows carried dreams, that the feather or wool inside might hold the spirit as it wandered in sleep, that what you laid your head upon shaped what visions you would see in the night. For this reason, certain herbs were tucked inside, lavender for calm, rosemary for protection, mint for purity. You picture those faint scents rising as you drifted, subtle, almost forgotten, yet guiding you as you closed your eyes. Sometimes charms were sewn into pillows, small tokens, prayers written on scraps of parchment, relics wrapped in cloth. The pillow becoming a vessel not only for the head but for the soul. And so each night, when you rested upon it, you also rested upon these unseen hopes. And when sickness came, pillows were part of the vigil. Heads of the ill propped higher, pillows folded beneath to ease their breathing, to hold them upright as the body weakened. When death followed, the same pillow often remained beneath the head, waiting still, until it was taken and burned or buried. You feel the weight of this now, that the pillow was not only for nightly rest, but for the turning points of life itself, childhood shared with family, adulthood softened by wealth or hardened by want, sickness cradled in its folds, death resting upon it. Always there, always ordinary, always patient. And you realize as you breathe, slowly now, more slowly still, that your own pillow is part of the same cycle. It too has absorbed your nights, your dreams, your quiet hours. It too will outlast some memories, bearing marks of use that only you may notice. When you think of it this way, you see that pillows have not only held heads, but entire lives, and that each night, when you return to yours, you return to the same story, endless, repetitive, steady. And as you settle deeper into this thought, you feel yourself drifting, because the story does not change. It loops, always back to the same moment. You lying down, the pillow waiting, the night stretching long and uneventful. It was this way in the past, It is this way tonight. It will be this way again tomorrow. The pillow beneath you, receiving you, holding you, waiting, always waiting. You are still lying where you are, the pillow beneath your cheek steady and familiar. The story stretches forward now, not into grand change, but into the quiet acts of care that kept a pillow alive, because pillows, like everything else, wore down with time. Fabric grew thin, seams loosened, stuffing shifted, and in the medieval world nothing was wasted. Nothing was easily thrown away. So each pillow was mended, patched, shaken, and filled again, over and over. You imagine a woman sitting by a window, faint light falling on the cloth in her hands. The pillow opened at one end, feathers spilling out in slow drifts, caught by the draft, floating through the room. She gathers them carefully, presses them back into the sack. Her needle is threaded, her stitches uneven but firm. She sews the tear closed, pulling tight, knotting the end. The pillow is heavier again, ready once more to hold a head. If the pillow was filled with straw, the work was different. The sack emptied, the old husks shaken out, replaced with fresh stalks gathered from the field. The new straw rustled as it was pressed inside, dry and sharp, smelling of harvest, smelling of dust and earth. The pillow swelled, awkward and lumpy, but clean once more. Wool-filled pillows were beaten to loosen the clumps, laid out in the air to dry in the sun. You imagine the faint smell of lanolin still clinging, the fibers coarse, stubborn, yet softened by warmth and handling. These tasks were ordinary, repeated with no thought of novelty, each season, each year. The pillow was remade in small ways, its body renewed while the fabric aged. You picture the patches sewn on top, squares of cloth mismatched in color, covering weak spots, hiding tears. So that by the end of its life a pillow no longer looked new at all, but layered with reminders of its long use. Noble houses had servants for this work, women who shook and plumped the pillows daily, who changed the covers, who stitched the seams more finely, who added lavender or dried herbs to perfume the stuffing. And so each night the noble laid down into a pillow that was kept fresh, smooth fabric, even seams, feathers full and soft. But even then, beneath the clean linen, the same truth remained. The pillow was still a sack filled with matter that shifted and settled, flattened and wore down. And even in castles, pillows had to be renewed, the down replaced, the seams reinforced. Nothing escaped the slow erosion of use. In monasteries, where pillows were few and simple, the work was quicker. A strip of cloth folded, sometimes refilled with rags, sometimes not, little thought given to softness, only to function. Monks did not linger in comfort, and so the pillow was treated with the same plainness as every other object. You see now that the pillow's life was not one of sudden change but of slow decline and slow repair. It aged quietly, it was cared for quietly, and it continued in its quiet duty through these endless cycles. You imagine the nightly act of shaking it, turning it, pressing it down with a fist to shape it before lying upon it. Small, repetitive motions, the same each evening. You might think these motions unimportant, but they were part of the ritual of sleep itself, pressing lumps to the edges, smoothing the surface, folding it in half if it was too flat, striking it once or twice to spread the stuffing, and then lowering your head, eyes closing, trusting the pillow to remain as it was through the hours of dark. And sometimes you woke in the night to find it shifted. The stuffing slid to one side, your head falling into the low place. So you turned it, pressed it, folded it again, before sinking back into stillness. This endless adjustment was not seen as troublesome. It was simply how pillows behaved, lumpy, shifting, uneven, always needing the hand to shape them before they were ready. Covers were important too, not only for beauty but for protection. Coarse linen for peasants, smoother cloth for merchants, embroidered silk for the noble. The cover took the wear, absorbed the sweat, caught the oils of hair and skin. The cover was washed when the pillow itself could not be. It was scrubbed in rivers, beaten on stones, stretched to dry in the wind, sometimes whitening in the sun, sometimes fraying at the edges, always changing. You imagine the faint smell of soapwort, the plant sometimes used to clean fabric, the cover soaking, then drying, stiff at first, then softening again with use. Once dry, it was pulled back over the sack of straw or feathers, smoothed with the hand, folded neatly at the corners, set back upon the bed to wait once more for night. In wealthy homes, pillow covers became canvases for art, embroidered with flowers, with vines, with golden thread woven into patterns, sometimes so finely worked that the stitches themselves were softer than the fabric. Yet even then, beneath the embroidery, the pillow still flattened, still lumped, still aged. In poorer homes, the covers were patched from old clothing, from scraps saved for years, mismatched but serviceable. The pillow always clothed in what the household could spare. And so, night after night, year after year, the pillow endured this cycle of wear and care. Used, patched, refilled, covered again. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden, only the slow rhythm of time moving through it. When you think of your own pillow now, you realize the pattern has not changed. Though the fabric is smoother, the seams stronger, the filling lighter, still you shake it, still you fold it, still you notice the thinness that grows with years. Still you press your face into a place already worn by many nights. And you see that the pillow's quiet story is not one of invention but of repetition. Always the same small acts, always the same patient waiting. In sickness, the pillow demanded even more care, damp with sweat, soiled by fever. It had to be aired often, beaten clean, sometimes discarded if too far gone, and in these moments, the pillow carried not only the head but the weight of suffering. A witness to long nights of wakefulness, of moans, of shallow breath, and still, even when the body gave out, the pillow remained beneath, silent, still waiting. Some pillows passed through generations, handed from parent to child, from one household to another, each one bearing marks of age, each one carrying unseen traces of lives long gone. You imagine resting your head on such a pillow, one that had held your father, your mother, your grandparents. You do not notice the difference in its feel, but you know it is old, patched, worn smooth from countless nights, and so the pillow connects you not only to your sleep but to theirs. This was the way of objects in the medieval world. They endured, they circulated, they carried memory not in words but in use, and the pillow was no different. And so you breathe now, slower still, as you think of the countless hands that shook their pillows, countless heads that pressed into them, countless nights that passed quietly as the pillow waited beneath. And in this thought, you feel the long continuity, the unbroken line of nights stretching back, each one ending the same way, a body lowering, a head resting, a pillow receiving. And so the story loops again, returning always to this simple truth. The pillow beneath you is not alone. It is part of a chain that has never broken, part of a rhythm that will never end. And as you sink deeper into this rhythm, you know the pillow will be here still, tonight, tomorrow, always waiting, always beneath you, always silent, carrying you gently through the night. You settle again, drifting deeper into the quiet story. The pillow becomes part of the rhythm of night, not only for the noble, but also for the monks who lived in silence. In monasteries across Europe, pillows were debated. Were they too soft, too indulgent, too worldly? Some abbots banned them, saying that the body should rest only on hard wood or a folded cloak, that the head should not sink into ease. Yet others allowed a small cushion, plain and unadorned, filled with straw or rags, never feather, never silk. You can almost picture the long rows of narrow beds, each monk lying in stillness, the sound of slow breathing, the faint crackle of the fire in the hall, their heads resting on something simple, almost nothing at all, and yet, even this, became part of devotion, part of discipline, the pillow as a test of faith. For peasants outside the monastery walls, there was no debate. The pillow was what you made of it. A sack stuffed with wool if you had sheep, straw if you did not, scraps of cloth sewn together, filled with hay, whatever could lift the head from the rough boards, or from the ground. You would press it flat at night, smooth it with your hand, and lay your cheek on it. The smell would rise up, earthy straw, faint lanolin from sheep's wool, the musk of worn rags, all mixed into the quiet air. You might think of it now, how the scent would stay with you, how it was familiar, unchanging, year after year. In noble chambers the story was different. There were pillows large and small, square ones filled with down, bolsters stretched across the bed, cushions embroidered with threads of gold, covers made of velvet or linen, sometimes perfumed, scented with herbs like lavender or rose, the soft weight pressing against the face as you turn. But even these were few. A noble bed was not crowded with pillows, perhaps one or two for the head, another at the feet, a bolster along the side, just enough to soften the night. Never excess, never the heaps we imagine today. Travelers too carried pillows, merchants on the road, knights moving between castles. They packed small sacks, stuffed with straw, easy to carry, tied to a saddle or tucked in a chest, and when they stopped at an inn, the pillow came out, placed on a wooden bed frame, or even on the floor, a small reminder of home. Pillows were mended often, covers torn and stitched again, stuffing replaced after it grew flat, seams reinforced by hand, each patch a record of use, each repair done by candlelight, slow, careful, almost invisible in the dim room. And so the pillow was always there, humble or rich, questioned or accepted, part of every night, always waiting, always ready for the head to rest. You find yourself sinking deeper into the thought that every night in the medieval world ended in the same way. No matter who you were, no matter what life you lived, there was always the meeting of head and pillow, sometimes soft, sometimes coarse, but always steady, always patient, waiting in silence for the weight of sleep. In the houses of peasants the pillow was small, perhaps only a sack of cloth, nothing more, flattened each evening, shaken with a hand, pressed into some shape that felt right. The straw inside rustling faintly, the sound dry and familiar, and when you lay your cheek upon it, the roughness of the fabric touched your skin, warm at first, then cool as the night deepened. In noble chambers the pillow was broader, larger, filled with feathers plucked carefully, cleaned and sorted, wrapped in linen smooth and white, covered with another layer of colored cloth, embroidered sometimes with patterns, vines, flowers, tiny golden stitches, things you might never notice with closed eyes, but present all the same. In monasteries there was still hesitation. The monks asked again and again, is this a luxury, is this indulgence, or is it simply a tool for sleep? Some orders allowed only a folded cloak beneath the head, others allowed a narrow cushion, stuffed with wool, no decoration, no ornament, a pillow reduced to its most basic form. Travelers brought their own when they could, tucked among belongings, small and light. The pillow became a companion of the road, pressed into the straw of an inn's mattress, or onto the hard boards of a host's floor, always carrying the faint scent of home, always bringing a little familiarity to strange rooms. The work of making pillows never stopped. Women in cottages sewed covers, cut from old garments, stuffed them with whatever lay at hand, wool clippings, grass dried in the sun, feathers saved from geese, then stitched the edges closed with coarse thread. Each pillow was unique. Each pillow bore the hand of its maker. You might imagine the cycle, the pillow flattening with time, the stuffing shifting, seams fraying at the corners, until the whole piece was opened again, filled anew, and stitched once more, endless repetition, endless quiet care. And so, each night, the pillow waited, in castles, in cottages, in cloisters, waiting for the same gentle wait, waiting for the eyes to close, waiting for the long, unbroken silence of sleep. You breathe slowly now, and the story continues without hurry. You picture the room. A narrow bed against the wall, a pillow lying quietly, its surface plain, its purpose simple, always the same, always patient. For peasants, the pillow was never new for long. It wore down quickly. The straw inside broke into dust. The wool clumped into hard shapes, and yet it was kept, patched, turned over, shaken each evening before rest. The same pillow serving year after year, until it was nearly flat, until it was more memory than cushion. Still it was used, still it carried the weight of sleep. In noble chambers the pillow might be replaced sooner, softer feathers gathered again. A new cover sewn from linen, smooth to the touch, cool beneath the skin, the embroidery fresh and bright. Servants brushed the pillows, laid them neatly at the head of the bed, and when night fell, the noble rested on softness that was rare for most of the world. In monasteries the pillow was not meant to be loved, it was tolerated, a concession to the body, sometimes denied altogether. There are records of monks writing about the danger of softness, how it tempted one to linger in bed, how a pillow might draw the mind away from prayer, and yet, some found they could not rest without it. The head needed lifting, the breath came easier, and so the pillow remained, plain, unadorned, but present. You might imagine how a pillow smelled then, straw carrying the scent of fields, wool with traces of sheep and lanolin, linen that was washed but never with soap as we know it, just water, sometimes herbs steeped in it, lavender, thyme, rosemary, faint, almost gone by morning. Every pillow told a story of its owner. The peasant's pillow rough, patched with mismatched fabric. The noble's pillow smooth, heavy with down. The monk's pillow thin, covered in coarse cloth. The traveler's pillow small, bound tightly for the road. And through every night, no matter the place, the pillow held the same task: to lift the head, to soften the contact with wood or stone, to ease the body into stillness. Always waiting, always quiet, always ready for you when your eyes begin to close. You let yourself drift further now, slower, softer. The story does not hurry. It does not need to hurry. It settles around you like a blanket, like linen smoothed over straw, like a pillow pressed beneath your cheek. It is steady and quiet, and it carries you deeper into the long nights of the medieval world. The pillow, in those centuries, between the year 500 and the year 1500, was never quite the same in every place. Yet it was always familiar. You would find it in the cottage, in the castle, in the monastery, on the road. You would find it waiting when the day ended, when light faded, when the fire turned to embers, and stillness filled the room. For the peasant, the pillow was never luxury. It was only necessity. A way to keep the head from the roughness of wood, a way to ease the body after long work in the field. Imagine the straw mattress beneath you, uneven, rustling each time you moved. Imagine the pillow at the head of the bed, stuffed with whatever was at hand: straw cut from the harvest, or wool too coarse for spinning, or rags gathered over years, sewn together into a sack, filled, flattened, but serviceable. The cover might be nothing more than a square of cloth, cut from an old garment, patched, worn, stained by time, but still strong. You would smooth it with your hand before lying down. You would press your cheek against it, and you would listen to the faint sound, the straw shifting inside, the rustle so quiet, almost like the sound of leaves in the wind. Night after night, the pillow would soften, then flatten, the straw breaking into dust, the wool forming lumps, the fabric fraying, and when it grew too thin, it would be opened, emptied, refilled, stitched again by hand, with coarse thread, each stitch slightly uneven, each repair done slowly in the dim light of the hearth. This cycle repeated endlessly. You did not discard the pillow, you mended it. You gave it life again and again, until the cloth was more patch than fabric, until the stuffing was replaced so many times it no longer remembered its beginning. Yet still the pillow was kept, still it carried the weight of each night. In the halls of the noble, the pillow was something else. It was softer, fuller, more carefully made, filled with feathers, not coarse feathers, but down plucked gently from geese, cleaned and sorted, chosen for softness, wrapped in smooth linen, covered again in cloth more finely woven than anything a peasant would touch, sometimes embroidered with flowers or vines, small patterns stitched in colored thread, patterns that no eye would see in the dark of night, but that still rested there, silent, unnoticed. The noble bed might hold more than one pillow, a large bolster stretched across the frame, square cushions at the head, sometimes smaller ones placed along the side, so that the body rested surrounded by softness. Not many, not the heaps of pillows we imagine now, but enough to mark the difference between poverty and wealth, between rough necessity and quiet comfort. You can imagine a servant preparing the chamber, the bed spread with sheets of linen, heavy blankets laid above, the pillows laid neatly in place, brushed, smoothed, ready for the noble to sink into at the end of the day. And when the chamber grew quiet, when the torches burned low, the noble head rested on feathers, on linen cool against the skin, on softness that carried the body away into sleep. In the monastery, the story bent another way. Here the pillow was not comfort, it was question. It was something debated. Monks asked, is this indulgence? Is this temptation? Should the head not rest on wood, or on a folded cloak? Some abbots said yes. Pillows weakened the spirit, made the body lazy, led the mind from prayer. But others allowed a narrow cushion, plain and undecorated, stuffed with straw or rags, covered with coarse linen, only enough to lift the head slightly. Nothing more. You might see the dormitory in your mind, rows of narrow beds, each identical, each plain, each with or without its small pillow. The silence of night broken only by the sound of breath, by the occasional stir of cloth, by the faint shifting of straw, and through the hours the monks lay still, their heads resting on what was allowed, their sleep part of discipline, part of devotion. For travelers the pillow was companion. It was carried from place to place, tucked into a chest, tied to a saddle, small enough to move but large enough to bring rest. When the road ended at an inn, the pillow was taken out, placed on a rough mattress, or even on bare boards, and the traveler lay down with something familiar, something from home. The pillow held scent, it held memory, it carried with it the air of where it came from. the faint smell of herbs used to clean it, the musk of wool, the dry sweetness of straw. When you lay your head upon it, even in a strange room, you breathed in what you knew, and the night seemed less foreign, less cold. And in every place, the pillow was touched, pressed, turned over, adjusted again and again, sometimes fluffed by hand, sometimes beaten to spread the filling, sometimes folded in half for more height. Small gestures repeated each night, motions of habit, motions that brought the body closer to sleep. You can see how slowly the world turned with these things, how patient each detail was, how a pillow was not just one object, but many over time, mended again and again, touched by many hands, slept on by many nights. And so the pillow endured, through centuries, through castles and cottages, through monasteries and inns. It was never the same, yet always the same. It waited at the end of each day. It carried the head, it carried the breath, it carried the silence of night. And when morning came, it was set aside, to wait again, until the next night fell, until the next body rested, until the next long silence returned. You breathe now, slowly, evenly, as though you too are resting there. The pillow beneath you steady, unchanged, patient, waiting for nothing, waiting for everything. You drift further now, deeper into the quiet rhythm. The pillow is still there, always there, unchanged in its purpose, always patient beneath the head. For you, in those centuries long ago, the pillow would not have been many, it would have been one. A single cushion that lasted years, cared for with slow hands, patched when it tore, refilled when it flattened. It was not replaced quickly. It was held onto, as though it were another member of the household, silent, useful, always near at night. Imagine yourself in a peasant's cottage, the walls of wattle and daub, the roof of thatch above you, the air faint with smoke from the hearth. You lie down on your straw mattress, uneven, prickling through the cloth beneath you, and there at the top is your pillow, rough to the touch, but familiar, smelling faintly of hay, of wool, of old cloth, the scent of your own life woven into it. Now shift to a chamber in a manor house, the bed large, the blankets heavy, the pillow smooth beneath its cover, linen that is cool against the skin, feathers yielding softly when you turn your head. It carries the faintest scent of herbs, lavender perhaps, or rose, placed there not for you to notice in wakefulness, but for you to breathe slowly, unconsciously, as you sink into rest. And in a monastery, the pillow is small, almost absent, a folded cloak for some, a thin cushion for others, the fabric plain, coarse, the stuffing nothing more than wool scraps or straw. It lifts the head only slightly, enough to rest without strain. No more, no less. It is not for comfort, it is for function. You may wonder how many nights pass this way. The same act repeated, smoothing the pillow with a hand, pressing it into place, lying the cheek upon it, adjusting it quietly in the dark, all of it done without thought, without notice, as natural as breath, as steady as time itself. And when the pillow wore out, when it no longer served, it was not discarded at once. It was opened, emptied, sewn again. The old cover reused if it could be, or patched until the cloth was almost a map of stitches. Each seam a trace of care, each repair another step in its long life. Sometimes pillows were passed along, from parent to child, from one household member to another, worn but still useful, carrying with it the years of use, the imprint of many heads, the memory of many nights. For the traveler, the pillow became memory in motion, tied to a saddle, folded into a chest. It carried not only the scent of home, but the warmth of familiarity. When laid upon a strange bed, it made that place feel less strange. When the head rested on it, the journey felt less long. And always the pillow was silent. It spoke no word, it carried no thought. It only waited, always ready, always still. You close your eyes, you imagine yourself there, a room dim with firelight, the faint crackle of embers in the hearth, the coolness of air seeping through the walls, your pillow beneath your cheek, firm in some places, soft in others, but steady, unchanging, patient, carrying you again into the quiet of sleep. You let the story continue, without hurry, without end. The pillow stays beneath you, unchanged, steady, always waiting for the same wait, the same silence. You picture once more the peasant cottage, the night quiet except for a few soft sounds, a creak of the roof beams, a faint rustle of straw under you, and there at the head of the bed, your pillow, rough in its fabric, uneven in its filling. But still familiar, still enough. You smooth it with your hand, you turn it once, and you rest upon it, night after night, year after year. Now you see the noble's chamber, larger, grander, tapestries along the walls, heavy curtains drawn against the cold, the bed wide, raised above the floor, the pillows prepared neatly by a servant's hand, feathers inside, linen cool and white, perhaps a faint embroidery along the edge, not meant for the eye at night, but present nonetheless. The noble head rests there, turning from side to side, sinking slowly into softness until the breath evens, until the silence deepens. In the monastery the vision is different, the room lined with narrow beds, each monk lying still, each head upon a folded cloak, or upon a thin cushion allowed by rule, no decoration, no softness beyond what is required, only enough to keep the body at ease, so that the mind may return to prayer, and when sleep comes, it comes not for comfort, but for duty, for strength to rise again before dawn. You might sense how universal this became, every life, every station, every belief, ending each day the same way, with the head lowered, with the pillow meeting the cheek, with the breath slowing. The pillow carried the same scent through all these nights, the scent of wool, of straw, of fabric worn by years of use, or in noble houses the faint aroma of herbs dried and tucked inside, lavender, sage, rosemary, gentle, fleeting, hardly noticed, yet present each time the breath moved across the cloth. And when the pillow failed, it did not disappear. It was mended over and over, opened, emptied, restuffed, resewn, touched by careful hands at the hearthside, by women patching cloth, by servants brushing feathers back into shape, by monks sewing covers with coarse thread. Every pillow bore the trace of work, of time, of patience. You feel how quiet this rhythm was, how small the act, yet how constant, each night repeating what the last had done, each morning leaving the pillow behind again until darkness returned. It is steady, it is slow, it does not change quickly, it waits through the centuries, through the silence, through the shifting of lives and places. It waits, for you, for every sleeper, to lay your head down again, to close your eyes, and to drift into the endless quiet of the night.